The Cash is next and third. On the outside is a Kariba. Then it's Sweet By and By. Gaining ground down at the rail is a Get Mother a Rose, who got stymied there. Oh, Get Mother the Rose in deep traffic. It is Jakarta with the lead. On the outside, it's Kariba and Sweet By and By. They come for the finish, and it is Kariba. Kariba to win it at the end.
Welcome back to another edition of the Racing Rundown here on YouTube. I'm Eric DeCoster. In this edition, we will be previewing the Grade 3 Kentucky Downs Ladies Sprint. Goes 6.5 furlongs on the Kentucky Downs turf course for a $500,000 purse. Fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and up. It's a very big field, very talented field. Certainly, a lot of these fillies have done a lot of damage and will continue to do a lot of damage in their careers. And let's get right into it. We have a lot to cover, starting with the one into a cow. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I am not too familiar with. I'm assuming this is Portuguese, as this filly is Brazilian bred and was based in Brazil up until now. She shipped in to the U.S. She was a 3 for 5 down there with a Grade 1 third last time out, going a mile. Seems talented for sure, and her trainer Paulo Lobo does a very good job with the shippers, just not first time out. He's been very with them when they usually get a run into them. And this really, based off the replays I watched of hers, does seem to have some potential for sure, but I don't trust her first off the layoff. First time in the U.S. It's not a strong angle, but the second time out, she does run her best race. So for that reason, I'm against into a cow. However I do pronounce that. Florent Drew does ride, but I think she is immensely talented from what I've seen. But at the end of the day, I think that she is probably a little overmatched in this group. First time in the U.S. The two coming in from New York is All Handle the Cash for Ray Handle, the trainer. 2 starts back, took out the license fee stakes at Belmont Park, going 6 furlongs. Last time broke a little awkwardly and ended up coming in 6th in the Caress at Saratoga. I think that's a race you can kind of ignore. She ran pretty okay. Like I said, she didn't break very well. I do like that she's getting back out to 6.5. First time 6.5, but she's ran 6 furlongs before, and she's found success at the distance in stakes company. And for that reason, I do think she is pretty enticing here. Jose Ortiz does ride her back once again. There are a lot of long shots in this race, so I think make a lot of good sense underneath. And I think this is definitely one of them, especially if you can ignore that last effort. And I personally believe that the more distance, the better for this. So for that reason, I do think she's one I would consider to hit the board. The 3 winning envelope was second last time out in the Lady Canterbury at Canterbury, beating 3/4 of a length. And usually when you're losing to horses at Canterbury, that's not super great indication of how good you are. But she did lose to a very talented filly named Streak of Luck, who's knocking on the door in some big races down in Southern California for the female mile division. So she lost to a slouch. 2 starts ago, beaten just a half length when she was second in a 5.5 furlong race at Churchill Downs. So she's been keeping very good company at the mile distance, and then her one time cutting back. I do really like that she's getting to 6.5 furlongs in this spot. I think it suits her very well. Her closing style, I don't really think there's going to be a ton of speed in here, and for that reason, it does make me a little bit skeptical of her. But she's shown to be good on her best day, but maybe not good enough to beat this group. The 4 Quebec for Joe Sharp was 7th, beaten 13 lengths in the Kentucky Downs Ladies Turf Preview at Ellis in her last start. 2 starts ago was second, being less than a length in a minor stakes at Lone Park 2. Really, I feel like she's shown good talent. I mean, earlier on this year, she won a listed stakes at the Fairgrounds over a pretty decent field, but other than that, she's really not proven to be anything special, especially her last 3 races have been losses to weaker horses than this. Now she cuts back to a sprint distance, and she doesn't have a ton of form going sprint distances, but when she does, she has not really won. 0 for 2 going this distance, 0 for 1 at Kentucky Down. I think this is just one you can definitely look against. She's going to be one of the speed presences, and I expect her to be fading very quickly as they come down that long stretch. The 5 Change of Control, a very live long shot. She took out 3 back-to-back allowance races before finishing 3rd in her last start. She ran a week and a half ago in the Unbridled Sydney Stakes at Churchill Downs in a race that was taken off the turf, put on the dirt, and it was a good third. But really ignore those races. You go back to her grass races. That's when she's done a lot of damage. 2 allowance wins at Churchill, like I said. Before that, was running decent races, fairgrounds and stakes company, and even had an allowance win earlier on in the year. She's very consistent, hard trying. She's always there at the end. Really just a question of if she can get it done. She does come from a bit off the pace, about mid-pack usually, but she's been able to close into slow and fast paces. She's just kind of unpredictable, but like I said, she is pretty consistent. She has shown to be able to hit the board, she does have that fifth place effort this year, but she was beaten less than 3 lengths on the day, so it's not like she wasn't close. So I think as a long shot, she's another one that I'd consider underneath because of her consistency, but the top horses in this race are very tough, and that is what kind of doesn't make me consider a win candidate. The 6 Mentality, one of a couple in here for Wesley Ward. Mentality is coming off a win in a New York bred company, a New York bred stakes in her last start by 2 lengths, going 6 furlongs at Belmont. That was a nice win for sure. Distance-wise, she's really only ran from 6 to 7, 5, 6, and 7 furlongs, never 6.5, but she's won out all 3 of those distances. So distance is certainly not going to be an issue with her. She has not ran since late June, so she's going to be coming off a bit of a layoff. However, she's ran well off the layoff in her career, so not the biggest concern in the world to me. I also do like that she has performed well at both 6 and 7 furlongs. She's going to be on or near the lead. She's 15-1 in the morning line. I think that's excellent value for her. Gerardo Corrales is aboard for the second time in her career. If she's going to be around 15-1, I think that she's definitely one to keep an eye on because she's ran such good races. Just really spaced out. She's ran off layoffs. She just seems like a filly who needs a lot of time between races. But Wesley Ward knows what he's doing. He can send out a lot of winners at Kentucky now. So, while I know that there are some tough other horses in this race, I think that if you can find the right angle with Mentality, you could definitely go with her. The 7 Kariba, H1 in the morning line. I definitely believe she'll be less than that. 2 for 2 in her last 2 starts since coming off a small layoff at Gulfstream, including taking up the Caress Stakes very impressively last time out for Christophe Clement. Ira Ortiz Jr. does get back in the saddle for this race. He rode her last time out as well. 2 starts ago, that was just a win at Belmont. The horse that was second in that race, Peaceful, has since gone on to win a stakes race. So really strong company lines since that. Actually, 3 starts since being switched from the Kerr McLaughlin barn to the Christophe Clement barn. She was second at Gulfstream in April, but since coming back from that race, she's been very strong, very impressive. Love getting her up to 6.5 furlongs. I think that distance will be very good for her. She does have experience around 2 turns anyways down at Gulfstream Park, so distance certainly won't be an issue for her. I think that she's very live, and she's definitely going to take a lot more money than that morning line reflects. The 8, your likely favorite, Got Stormy. If you're listening, you definitely know who this is. She was second in the Breeders' Cup Mile last year. Took an Atriarch to end off 2019, but she hasn't won this year. 2 seconds, 3/4. Last time out, improved a ton. Ran the best race of her year when she was second in the 4-star day behind Halliday. Before that had been disappointing. Well, now she finds probably definitely easier company. First time she's cutting back to this distance. She's never ran this short, going 6.5. So that'll be interesting to see how she does. However, I do think it does suit her very well. Personally, I think that she kind of got lucky in the 4-star Dave. I know that she really loves Saratoga, so I think that boded well for her. In her other races this year, she has easily been beaten, and she hasn't looked at the part at all. I wouldn't be surprised to see her run poorly here. I wouldn't be surprised to see her win either. She's going to sit a nice trip. Tyler Gaffleone back in the saddle. She's going to be favored, but I'd be very cautious of her. There's not a lot of consistency in 2020 for me to really consider her a cinch in this spot. The 9, Intimistic. She's trending very well, coming off a win in the Kentucky Downs Ladies Turf Sprint preview. So the prep race for this at Ellis Park, she won that by a length and a half in very impressive fashion. And the filly that was second in that race, Ambassador Luna, came back to win a stakes at Churchill last weekend. That was her first start in the barn of Brendan Walsh. She was coming on from the West Coast, where she was 4th in the Monrovia behind Jolie Olympica and Alexandra, who are both grade 1 placed and one grade 1 winner there. So tough company she was keeping out there in a race that did not super well for her. Well, I think that this race makes a lot of sense for her. 6 furlongs, she never ran it, but she's done well at 6.5 before. So I don't think it makes no sense in this spot. And at the end of the day, she's just put together some really impressive performances in her last 2 races, really. She had some very strange form. I don't even want to get into it, but it was some weird races she was running in. But her grass races, her last 2 starts have been very impressive. She's improved a lot. She's trending upward very nicely. Brendan Walsh does have a lot of success at Kentucky Downs. I think Intimistic certainly makes a lot of good sense. The 10 Jakarta for Mike Maker. She is going to be your pace setter probably. She has a lot of natural speed. She's coming off the second behind Kariba in the Caress in her last start. Luis Saez back in the saddle. She started off the year very well. Won an allowance at Gulfstream, going 5 furlongs on the grass. Off the turf race at Gulfstream, going a mile. She won by 2 1/4. So distance isn't an issue. And then she kind of regressed in her next 2 starts, but she came back and ran so nicely in the Caress last time out. I think that 6.5 on the grass will be just fine for her. She's proven she can go up to a mile at least. I'm sure that was on the dirt, but I don't think it'll be that much of a difference. And like I said earlier, there's not a ton of early speed in this race, and for that reason, I think she's going to be able to set the race up very nicely for herself. I think that at 10-1, at least to hit the board, I think Jakarta has some good value. The 11 is Kamari, your likely second choice. She's coming off a second at Royal Ascot behind the boys in a Group 1. That was a super impressive effort there. Very lightly raced, but a very talented 3-year-old filly is Kamari. Her only other start this year was on the dirt when she won the Purple Martin. The filly that was second in that race, Franquette, has won back-to-back graded stakes races up in New York, so you know that she's keeping good company. Go back to last year. She was 3 for 4, or I guess 3 for 5, sorry, with a very close second at Royal Ascot in Group 2. Taking out 2 listed races at Saratoga and Keeneland before that hard troubled 4th in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint. I love her. I think that this race is perfect for her. 6.5 furlongs is not going to be an issue. She's going to be able to close very well. That second last time out was against the world's best 3-year-old sprinters on the grass, and now she's facing this group of females who are very good, but she's proven time and time again, layoffs don't bother her. Where she runs doesn't bother her. She's just so classy. I have a hard time seeing her lose this race. And if she's not favored, if you're going to get anywhere from 4-1 or higher on her, I'd take it to the bank. The 12 is Surrender now. First start for Steve Asmussen, being switched out of the Peter Miller barn. She's coming off 3 straight sevens, 7th place finishes in stakes efforts. The Daisy Cutter at Del Mar last time out. Before that, she was behind Intimistic in those others in the Monrovia, and then she faced the boys 3-go in the San Simeon. But when she was running in the Midwest in 2019, she ran a couple times at other Kentucky-based tracks. She had some success, including a second in the Ladies Turf Sprint preview at Ellis in 2019. So she has good company here, but her races this year have just not been impressive. And for that reason, I think I can look against her. She will be a factor in the pace setup, though. She's likely going to sit a very close second or third. You have 3 also eligibles in this race. The 13 Dixie and Candyland won an allowance race at Ellis last time out. The 14 Lady Lawyer won by a neck at Saratoga last time out. 4 Chad Brown. If she draws in, I think she's dangerous. But obviously it's going to be tough. I don't think you're going to scratch. And the 15 Bohemian Bourbon was third, beaten less than a length in the Grade 2 Royal North at Woodbine. Obviously, I mentioned some very talented horses in those also eligible. Shows you how deep this group is. My top 3 in this race, I'm going to go Kamari on top. Like I said, I really have not been I've not been as impressed with anyone else in this group as I am Kamari, and that says a lot because this is a very talented group. I think she's the class of the field. Race will set up nice for her. Second, I'm going to go Jakarta. I thought that last effort showed market improvement. Think she'll run back to it. Mike Maker is always very dangerous at any track he's at. Kentucky Downs is no exception. And for third, I said there was a lot of value you could find in this race. I think that horses like I'll Handle the Cash, as well as Change of Control, Mentality, if they're going to be at those prices, they're absolute, you got to give them some attention underneath. Of those 3, though, I will say Mentality will probably run the best, so I will throw her on for third. But there are a million different ways to go in this race. At the end of the day, I hope I was just able to help you pick an angle or find an angle to help you pick a winner. And that's all I have for you guys on this. Very deep, a lot of information to digest, but I think this is going to be a very fun race. So we'll see you next time here on the Racing Rundown.
And it is Miss Oramet on the inside. I'll Handle the Cash on the outside. I'll Handle the Cash has now taken the lead here. And gaining ground on the outside, here comes Get Mother a Rose, to make that a great time. It is a great time on the outside of I'll Handle the Cash. I'll Handle the Cash, a great time, and a late move here from Dalika, but I'll Handle the Cash got there first.